Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, tuning in to the 2021 No Code Conference. And specifically, welcome to this session where we'll be chatting with the Mural team about how Mural works better together in Webflow. Super excited to be chatting with a wonderful group of creatives today and learning from them about the projects they're working on, the processes that they employ, as well as some of the tools that they're using. And maybe we can get some advice from them as well. Now, before I introduce that team, would briefly like to introduce myself. My name is Brando Roche. Everyone calls me Brando. I'm a senior account executive working on helping build out the sales motion here at Webflow. Now, part of my job is I get to work with some awesome mid-size and enterprise-size organizations and kind of working with marketing and engineering leadership to assess whether or not Webflow is a good fit for specific projects. And I'm super lucky and love my job. But today I'm really excited to work with Mural on this session. Mural was actually one of our earliest enterprise customers and actually one of my first customers as well. So couldn't be more thrilled to be working with them on this today. And without further ado, let's go ahead and meet that team. So Mural, can we please go around the horn? Would love to hear your name, your title, and maybe share where you're calling in from. And Pablo, can I hand it over to you first?
Yeah, of course. Hey, Brando, thanks for having us. Thanks everyone for watching. We're super excited to be here. Like Brando said, we have a very close collaboration with the Webflow team, and we love doing these things with you guys. I'm Pablo. I'm the web lead at Mural, and I'm calling in from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Elena?
Hi, everyone. My name is Elena Gillis. I'm a front-end developer at Mural, and I'm calling from Charlottesville, Virginia. Josh?
Hey, guys. My name is Josh Jacobs. I'm a senior UX designer here on the Mural team, calling in from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm passing it on to Bianca.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bianca Lindner. I am the web production lead here at Mural, and I'm calling in from Brooklyn, New York.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Again, Mural team, thanks for joining the session today. Now that we're kind of all acquainted, would love to go around the horn just one more time. Now that we know your titles, would love to learn just a little bit more about your role specifically. So Pablo, we'll start with you. Can you just tell us a little bit more about your day-to-day and kind of what are the different projects or focuses of your specific role at Mural?
Yeah, definitely. So, as the web lead, I mostly make sure that whatever we put out to the world is, up to standards, up to what we want to be putting out there. So just making sure that projects flow properly, and also kind of taking lead on the web roadmap, right? Working closely with our product manager, Courtney Rankin, and Bianca too on the project planning. And we own the main marketing site, Mural.co, as a team, but we also have many other secondary, projects or campaign-led microsites that we also work on. And we really need to partner closely sometimes with great Webflow partners or Webflow experts. So a lot of that outsourcing and reaching out to the community is also part of my job.
Would love to hear from you next, Elena.
Thank you. I am a front-end developer at Mural, obviously, and I'm working on a lot of different projects, starting from ticketing, wireframing, design, mock-up, and development. Development that has to do with inside the Webflow development and outside of the Webflow scope. I work with a lot of projects that involve outside coding or working with Webflow libraries like FinSuite and JetBoost, integrating our Marketo forms, working on cookie policies, and all the other things that my team can come up with. Josh?
Yeah, as a senior UX designer on the team here at Mural, I work on a lot of the typical UX stuff. I conduct research, I create wireframes and designs, both in various different tools. Of course, I do a lot of implementation in Webflow, but mostly I focus on things like design, strategy, competitive analysis, running different exercises like persona exercises, and doing a lot of that really great UX work while also making the site look real pretty. And Bianca?
Yes, I am the official team wrangler, project manager, production lead, whatever you want to call it. Once we have that roadmap that Pablo mentioned set up for quarterly planning, it is my job to get those projects set up in Asana and track them and make sure that the team is hitting our goals for our shipping dates. I also focus a lot on process improvement. I conduct retrospectives, always thinking about ways to keep improving and become more efficient.
Thanks so much, Bianca. So, it's really cool to kind of think about how each role is kind of, doing individual tasks and things like that. But I'm kind of really curious to know, how is the team working together today? Each of you have your own roles, but how does the team actually come together to collaborate? And would love to also dive into some tooling as well at this point. So yeah, maybe walk us through how you like to collaborate and talk through some of the tools that you're working with in your tech stack alongside Webflow. And for this, Bianca, can you kick us off? And also would love to hear from you, Josh and Elena.
Yeah, I'd love to. So quarterly planning, like we've mentioned, is really the part that kicks us off. Once we have that prioritized list of projects, that's where our team comes together. We use Planning Poker to really estimate and figure out which projects are going to take up more of the team's capacity. We then come up with that, not only a roadmap, but a prioritized list of projects that we've classified as a must, should, could, won't, etc. A roadmap then becomes a living portfolio in Asana, and then it's my job to break it out into bite-sized tasks for our team to tackle. Another really cool thing that we've developed is in our own product, Mural, which is our project lifecycle. So that maps out from the brief to kickoff to every stage of a project. It's really, really great because it consolidates everything in one place. Then after a project is shipped, we also track everything on a Confluence wiki page. So not only do we have historical knowledge, but we also have assets housed there, and we can also track analytics post-launch.
Like Bianca mentioned, collaboration is at the core of everything that we do. We believe that we all work better when we're working together, and a lot of that plays into our tool set, right? So like Bianca mentioned, starting in Mural to do things like collaborative workshops, research and wireframing, anything to do with the beginning stages of a project is done in Mural. And then typically we take that from Mural into Figma, where we can translate that research into visuals, designs, animations, etc., where we can tell our story. Then, of course, once that story is ready to be told, we bring it into Webflow, where myself, Elena, the rest of our wonderful team work really hard to tell engaging stories through the Webflow platform. And then before all of that stuff goes out, we use a number of different tools to collect feedback, namely Markup. Markup is a tool we use all the time for collecting feedback in the browser. We've got content people in there, stakeholders in there, as well as designers and developers testing all of our experiences to make sure that they run smoothly and efficiently. And I think that's all for my piece. Elena, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, totally. Thanks, Josh. For my role, I collaborate with our web team and also with teams outside of our marketing team, something like product and engineering. So we work on a lot of different projects to bring the best user experience to our website. One of the projects that we currently work on is setting up a proper cookie policy, consent policy, that created a seamless experience when someone consented on our website. And after that, they went into our Mural app. The experience is the same and you don't have to consent twice. It was a big project that we worked on with engineering team to make sure we launch it at the same time. And Webflow obviously helps us create this perfect, staging environment where we can test things before we push them out. I also work with libraries like FinSuite and JetBoost and creating different experiences like filtering and search for the website. Like I mentioned before, embedding Marketoform and working with all the other marketing operations people on the team to make sure we're tracking everything properly and getting the best data out of our website.
Awesome. Super cool. Thanks, Elena, Josh, and team. That's super cool to hear about how all of these different, teams are collaborating not only on this specific web team and building inside of Webflow, but also, engineering and product and planning. Really awesome stuff. And Bianca, you mentioned something there that caught my attention, specifically around how the Mural team is actually kind of dogfooding a bit and using the Mural product itself. So, Pablo, this is kind of a question for you. How is the Mural team kind of using the Mural product within that whole web design and development process today?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it resonates with what Josh said too, right? We really believe in collaboration. That's kind of the foundation of Mural as a tool itself. So we definitely use it for everything to a fault. Eventually we're like, okay, where does this leave? Okay, you always start in a Mural. That's what we do here, right? So that's super important for us. And a project like the project life cycle that Bianca built out is incredible, right? Because you have all the stages within your same whiteboard. So we go from what's the why do we need to do this, right? The opportunity canvas. And then we jump to, well, what's the content outline? And then we jump to, okay, let's do a brainstorming session around this. Then let's do a wireframing, then a low fidelity, right? And then that's when we jump to Figma probably and do the low fidelity there and the high fidelity. But we still keep bringing in like screenshots. And, in our company, everyone knows Mural. So it's very important to be able to communicate with that tool. So whenever you have like a higher up, right, or some stakeholder needs to be able to access fast and leave a comment, it's much easier for us to just leave that in a Mural, you leave that screenshot and you go through the process. And then at the end of the project, if we did it right, you have a beautiful, project lifecycle Mural in which you can see the entire process and all the decisions that were made. And that really brings a lot of transparency and a lot of ownership to our designers, right? And our content team and everyone, that you can just hop in. And it makes the process very inclusive to everyone's thoughts and opinions, because no one can be the loudest person in the room. And that's super important for us. And that's why we constantly use Mural.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Pablo. Really cool to hear how the Mural product plays into that whole process. Going on to the next question, I'm kind of curious, can you all walk me through kind of a recent project that you've actually done? So, we kind of understand at a high level everybody's role. We understand everybody's kind of specific job and kind of some of the tools you're using, but would love to dive into a real world example about how you've already used that process for a project. So for this, Josh, since you're a UX designer, I imagine you're involved really early on in those parts of the process. So let's start with you, and would also love to hear from you, Bianca, on this question.
So a recent project we worked on, a great example of collaboration would be the Resource Hub. The Resource Hub is a one-stop shop for all the resources needed for a Mural user. So we're talking case studies, ebooks, and articles of information that are relevant to our users for utilizing different processes, right? So the Resource Hub was a huge undertaking. It involved the content team, design, UX, and it was a really complicated ask, right? The team came to us and said, we need to create this system that has categories, subcategories, really intricate CMS systems, and it also needs to meet all of our content needs. And so with that, we went and created the Resource Hub using some of the processes that we mentioned before. Bianca, did you want to go ahead and talk about a little bit more about the effort?
Yeah, definitely. So I remember when I first started hearing this request for this content hub, and it was put on hold for a little while because when I started, it was a one-man show of Pablo. And then once Josh joined, we thought, okay, here we go. So we kicked it off with the content team. They really had a solid idea, and Josh came in and really owned this project to set up the shell, but also train the content team to set up the CMS collection on their end. And I think the reason this really stands out is because it was truly driven by one of the first projects that I witnessed that was truly driven by the web team, but also huge collaborative effort with the content team as well.
Awesome. That's great. Definitely recommend everybody checking out that website if you've not already, mural.co/resources. Amazing project, beautifully designed and very well executed by the Mural team. Now, Bianca, as you were describing that, you mentioned the content team a little bit as well and kind of their involvement early in the process. One thing I'm curious about is how that team is working today. So the website is up, the machine, that massive content management piece is up and running. But how does the content team actually create and publish content today now that project is live? And maybe Josh, can I ask you to answer this question?
Yeah, sure. Our CMS was definitely a labor of love. And one of the great things about working collaboratively is we can determine both the needs from the business as well as the constraints or some of the guidelines, the guide rails that we need to stay in with regards to Webflow, the CMS, as well as what is really needed, right? So the content team came to us, they said, we'd like to create these pages. We need primary pages, secondary pages, like categories and subcategories. On the page, we need to reference other collections, for example, the templates collection, as well as have like pull quotes, 2 different kinds of pull quotes, and a jump nav. I mean, it was really crazy. But the great thing about this collaboration was that we worked together with the content team to actually build the CMS. And we built the CMS for the content team. So think of it like a design effort. We color coded the sections of the different categories of content. So section 1, I think, was like white. Section 2 was blue, using the little emojis. Nice. And so once all of that was set up, we had training sessions with the content team to say, here's how the CMS works. Here's what happens when you put content into the collection. And here's what happens when you don't, right? Here are the rules. Here are the exceptions. And today, the content team feels very independent about how they work in the CMS collection system because it was built so flexibly.
That's amazing. Really cool stuff. Thanks for sharing more insight on that, Josh. So, we just kind of walked through how the Mural team collaborates internally and how you've used that process to build that resource hub. Again, the site's looking great, but I'm kind of curious to know what's next for the team. I know that the team's been growing a lot. I know things have changed and some of these processes are relatively new. So I'd like to speak to you, Pablo, directly on this question. I know you've been at Mural for quite a while now, and I believe we're one of the first people actually building inside of Webflow for the Mural team. So Pablo, I guess, speak to how the team has grown and scaled and, kind of what the big projects you're going to tackle next, what those are.
Yeah, 100%. So, like I mentioned before, we collaborate a lot with Webflow experts. So when I joined the Mural team back in April 2020, we were just finalizing the build of our first, the first build of the Webflow site, transitioning from a custom build. And I just joined there at the tail end of it. We were working with Will Irasabal from Saval Media, a Webflow expert, and he really helped us do that first setup, right? But then the company really blew up during the beginnings of the pandemic. Everyone going remote. You know how it all went, and so we really needed to level up quite a lot more. And for the first year or so, there was another web designer working too. She then transitioned to the visual team. But we were just 2 designers. Then eventually it was just me. And just designing an entire site, enterprise site from a company that's blowing up, it's not a one-man thing, right? So eventually we decided, hey, let's grow the team. And we were able to hire incredible people like Josh, Elena, Marius, also Bianca. And we recently just added a QA analyst too. And I mentioned Courtney to our product manager. So the team really grew from like this one sort of scrappy person that also Mural was the first time I ever used Webflow. So, that's a testament to Webflow because I didn't know the tool before joining the company. So, just growing from 1 to right now, maybe 7 people constantly working on the site, from PM to actual UX and design and front end. I guess the next step for us is, first of all, you can imagine our CSS, it's not that great. And I'll be the first to admit that, we don't have a solid naming convention. And so we're right now working hard to clean that up, have a solid web style guide with which we can actually build projects better, faster, and get to market faster. But also, just building out that team, which is something that is a true passion for me, right? Building out those processes, right? Those Confluence pages that Bianca mentioned, right? Knowing what to expect from us and how fast we can do certain things. What does it take? What do we need from you when you engage with us? Because we work with the entire company, helping them out, right? From the content team to the careers team to the product marketing team, the campaigns team, etc. So it's really, I guess, the next step for the team is how do we consolidate and we become a real now solid team with the processes and take it really to the next level.
Incredible stuff, Pablo. And it's really wild to think that you were, kind of a team of one once the website launched. And now you said a team of 7. You really are like the grandfather of the web team. So cool. Awesome to hear that story. So we are kind of coming up close on time, sadly, but this is actually my favorite question for today's session. So would love to go just hear from 2 people, and specifically, what is one piece of advice that you would give other design teams today? Elena, can I hand it over to you first? And then Josh would also love to hear from you on this question.
Sure. Thank you, Brando. A little bit of a backstory. I was in the same position Pablo was about like a year and a half ago, when I was the one-person operation team, one-man show. I was doing the design and the development for the previous company I worked for, and it was quite a challenge. And when I joined Mural about 6 months ago, we started growing our team, and obviously it was incredible understanding that there are a couple more designers on the team, a lot of talented people that you get a chance to work with and learn from at the same time. So the question was, how do you collaborate? And my one piece of advice is you have to learn how to collaborate with your team, because eventually one day you will grow from one person's operation to a team of talented people. And we have different time zones. We work on different schedules. We'll have different meetings on our calendar. So different ways to collaborate is to always be open to communicate what are you doing, in the Webflow, what projects are you working on, when are you going into Webflow, when you're publishing things, when it's okay to switch roles and to maybe go into editor if you're working on the content versus be in a designer, and just be open. More you're sharing about what you're doing and what is your schedule like when you're building a big project like Mural's website is and all the other websites that we're supporting internally, more successful your team is going to be.
If I could give one piece of advice to other design teams out there, really what I would say is that, we have a lot that's asked of us today for our web projects, our design projects. And it's very easy to just, take the time to just check the boxes of the work that we're doing and just, meet the technical requirements, meet the content requirements of a project. But earlier I mentioned storytelling, and that's something that we're really passionate about at Mural. And the great thing is, with all these modern tools, all these collaboration tools, and all of these wonderful new processes that we're developing, we have the luxury of time. And so my advice to you would be to, if you are collaborating and you are working efficiently, take some time to tell a story. Don't just check the boxes, because the more engaging your story is, the more engaging your content is, the better experience it's going to be for your users.
Awesome. Josh, Elena, thank you both so much for that advice. Pablo and Bianca, thank you both as well for joining the session. Just to kind of quickly recap, what that 2 bits of advice was. Really, we need to collaborate. When it comes to collaborating, we need to communicate early and often, especially as teams scale. Super, super critical advice from Elena. And then Josh, as you mentioned, it's always important to not forget that we're here to tell and share stories and not just to check boxes. Absolutely wonderful stuff. Thank you, Mural team, again for joining today's session. It's been wonderful learning from you today. And again, thanks for the advice. That's all that we have for you today in this session. Everybody tuning in to the No Code Conference, please go enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks for tuning into our session today, and enjoy the rest of your days. Bye, everyone.